far there has been no success against those who are behind that horrible massacre where 26 innocent people were killed. So that is the situation here on the ground. As we see, there's no conflict appear to be, spiraling, and we see it is escalating spiral along the LOC and the diplomatic also feud between the two countries, as we have seen it at the United Nations Security Council last night, and how both the countries traded charge against each other, and India has clearly said that our Pakistan is directly responsible for terrorism and militancy and killing of innocent people here. And Pakistan on its side is talking about what they say, always talk about Kashmir dispute, what they talk about their sovereignty, and saying they will hit back if they are being targeted, but at the same time saying they condemn the Pahalgam terrorist attack and are ready for any neutral probe. That is something they have always been talking about, but India has made its position very, very clear when it comes to terror.
As always, Nazir, thank you so much for joining us with that ground report. As my colleague Nazir Masoodi is reporting, there are mock drills that are currently happening in Srinagar at the Dal Lake. In the wake of repeated ceasefire violations by Pakistan, people meanwhile living in border areas of Jammu have started cleaning and preparing community bunkers to stay safe from cross-border threats, as Nazir has detailed. In fact, many villagers are also busy harvesting their crop. Some have already finished because of the fear of cross-border shelling. That's as far as Srinagar is concerned. Let's also get in more clarity as far as the mock drills across the country are concerned with Aishwarya. Aishwarya, we are aware that this move is aligned with the centre's long-term strategy to boost civil preparedness. But just take our viewers through what people may experience during these mock drills, the blackouts tomorrow as in the 7th of May.
Well, the Ministry of Home Affairs have directed the states to conduct civil defense mock drill on May 7th, and in regards to that, let me tell you, it would be the Home Secretary who would be meeting the Chief Secretaries of different states and union territories today via video conferencing. There would be the officials from the MHA who would be also part of it. 244 strategic locations had been selected to have these mock drills. These are strategic districts across the country which had been selected. Let me show you these live visuals from the Ministry of Home Affairs as well, where the meeting will start very shortly. But as you asked, the exercise aims to enhance preparedness in the event of hostile attack. That includes the following measures. Of course, the directions that have been given by the MHA has stated that activation of air raid warning systems. There should be training of civilians, including students, in basic civil defense techniques. There should be implementation of crash blackout protocols, early stage camouflaging of critical infrastructure and installation to test functionality of control rooms and shadow control rooms, cleaning of bunkers and trenches, updation of CD plan and rehearsal. These are many guidelines that had been given by the Ministry of Home Affairs to different states, where yesterday the directions had been given. Officials from the MHA and NDRF would be also present in this meeting, which Home Secretary will be taking with all the district magistrates of 244 strategic locations as well. The chief secretaries of different states will be joining this very important meeting just ahead of the mock drill on 7th of May.
Aishwarya, thanks so much for joining us with the latest details. Last such drill was conducted back in 1971 when there was a war between India and Pakistan in which the latter was defeated and Bangladesh was created. We'll keep tracking all the latest as far as the mock security drills are concerned. After stopping the flow of the water from the Baglihar Dam on the Chenab River, now all gates of the Salal Dam on the Chenab were closed, resulting in a significant drop in water levels in the Riyasi district. India continues the water chokehold as far as Pakistan is concerned. India has shut gates of two key dams, the dams were actually used for hydel power generation. So India's chokehold on Pakistan continues on the waterfront, with India shutting gates of two key dams which were used for hydel power generation. Nazir Masoodi has been tracking the latest details for us. Nazir, take us through the impact this is likely to assert.
Well, for last 2 days, we can see in two key dams, hydroelectric power dams. This one is Baglihar project and second is the Salal. Both are on run of the river projects on Chenab River. The gates have been closed, which means no water can flow down. And we see for the first time Chenab River drying up and people they are walking across. And at Akhnur we could see that, and people say for the first time they say, oh, Modi has actually stopped the water. But the fact is that since these are run up the river projects, they cannot hold the water beyond their capacity, because at the height of these dams has been made as per the Indus Water Treaty conditions, terms and conditions, and they have been approved by the Indus Water Commission, which means Pakistan was part of when they were designed, because whenever any dam or project is built over the river system in Jammu and Kashmir, it was mandatory that Pakistan agrees on the design and the height of those dams. Okay, now since the India has suspended the Indus Water Treaty, India is not obliged to release the water the way it used to be, or the way Indus Water Treaty asked them to, or had defined the usage of water or the release of water. So what happened since last 2 days? Gates were closed and Pakistan is facing the heat. And yesterday there was a meeting, yesterday evening, Pakistan's Water Commission, and they have already warned country of shortage of water. They are saying in the Kharif season they will actually face 21% of water shortage. That is the immediate effect, we can see it. But there's a reality check also, because since these dams or these projects have been built as per Indus Water Treaty, we cannot hold more water than they are built the way they are. For example, at Baglyar 1 and 2, this project, we can only hold 320,000 acre feet of water. Beyond that, it has to flow. And second important thing is that when we close the gates, we cannot also flow down the water, because motors to generate electricity should also run. So which means we are also stopping, this by stopping the water, we are also stopping the power generation. But that is a small cost when it comes to sending a larger message. Right now, India is trying to send a message to Pakistan what it means suspending Indus Water Treaty. It may not have immediate impact on them, but it will have a large impact. And when we heard Pakistani representative at the UN, he was talking about that water is not weapon, it is life. And he say if our this interest like water and peace and sovereignty is threatened, we will not stand by and we will act, and it will be treated as an aggression. This is what I was saying. But here, India is showing its intent, but it will take a long time to raise the height of the dams, and also to factor in the ecological cost and the social cost of these projects. Right. Because whenever you do it, it has a cost on its own. But this time India is sending a message to Pakistan. For the first time, people see rivers drying up. It may be temporary, but the message is loud and clear.
Message is loud and clear indeed. But thank you so much, Nazir, for breaking down all the details for us. The UN Security Council commenced closed-door consultations on the situation between India and Pakistan, just hours after Secretary General Antonio Guterres voiced concern over tensions between the nuclear-armed neighbours being at their highest in years. Just listen in to the UN Secretary General's remarks.
Tensions between India and Pakistan are at their highest in years. I deeply respect and I am profoundly grateful to the government of people of both countries and their significant contributions to the work of the United Nations, not least UN peacekeeping. And so it pains me to see relations reaching a boiling point. I understand the raw feelings following the awful terror attack in Pahalgam on 22 April. I once again strongly condemn that attack and extend my condolences to the families of the victims. Targeting civilians is unacceptable, and those responsible must be brought to justice through credible lawful means. It is also essential, especially at this critical hour, to avoid a military confrontation that could easily spin out of control. Now is the time for maximum restraint and stepping back from the brink.
Well, for an expert's view on the matter, joining us on the broadcast at the moment, Michael Kugelman. Always a pleasure to have you on NDTV, sir. The UNSC closed-door meeting is set to have ended with no outcomes and no statement after this meeting was called at the request of Pakistan. Mr. Kugelman, would you argue this is along expected lines?
Yes, I don't think that we should have expected any sort of significant announcement to come after this meeting. I mean, we've seen that there's been a pretty significant consensus around the world since the terrible terrorist attack on the 22nd of April, and that is to condemn the attack that happened, but also to call for de-escalation. And that consensus has certainly extended to the UN and to the members of the UN Security Council. And so I would think that these deliberations that happened on Monday probably discussed exactly that. And as articulated by the UN Secretary General in that clip that you played before, I suspect that in the meeting they all agreed that we need to condemn the attack and encourage the two sides to de-escalate, or at least not to escalate. So in that sense, I don't think that we should have expected anything notable to come out of these consultations.
But Mr. Kugelman, Tehran, meanwhile, has quickly and publicly actually offered to take on the role of a mediator. We know high-level trips are planned to India later this week, currently in Pakistan as well. What do you think is driving Iran, and how do you see this playing out?
Right. I mean, this is a notable development because it's one thing to have countries simply call for de-escalation, as we've seen at the UN, but it's something else for a country to actually publicly position itself as a mediator. And indeed, I mean, we had the Iranian foreign minister in Pakistan on Monday, and indeed he's due in India later this week. I suspect that Iran wants to signal to various audiences that it is capable of being a responsible player and a proponent of peace. And I suspect for very practical reasons, it would want to take whatever step it can to reduce the likelihood of another conflict in its broader region. Iran, of course, shares a very long border with Pakistan.
In fact, that's something experts have warned about. Well, we'll be keeping a close eye on all the key developments with you, Mr. Kugelman. Thank you so much for making time for us and joining us on NDTV. As you know, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, in one of his strongest statements so far, has cautioned that both countries must avoid a military confrontation that he said could easily spin out of control, describing the tensions since the Pahalgam attacks as the highest in years and reaching a boiling point. After it pressed for closed-door consultations over tensions with India in the aftermath of the Pahalgam terror attack, the UNSC members grilled Islamabad over the involvement of Lashkar-e-Taiba, a Pakistan-based terror group. Shiv Arur has been tracking all the finer developments for us. He joins us live at the moment. Shiv, Ambassador Akbaruddin says Pakistan's grandstanding has flopped, while Pakistan is claiming its objectives were largely served. Can this be seen as pure posturing on Pakistan's behalf? Take us through the latest.
Well, what happened at the United Nations Security Council informal closed meeting is the equivalent of a very, very public snub to Pakistan. They, of course, will put up a brave face and say that, their agenda was met, etc., and that they were given a hearing. But if sources are to be believed, then they were basically, castigated in front of all the other members, with several members of the United Nations Security Council questioning Pakistan's deeply provocative behavior on the back of what happened in Pahalgam, the manner in which it's been testing weapons, provoking on the line of control. It was directly questioned about the Lashkar-e-Taiba's involvement, and it was asked, and it was very, very blankly and boldly told that the United Nations is not going to step in. This needs to be sorted out bilaterally. So Pakistan's entire effort to somehow internationalize this issue, take it beyond just what's happening between India and Pakistan right now, appears to have, completely faltered and failed at the United Nations Security Council. The question, of course, is where will they go next? This is the equivalent of having a door slammed in your face when you're trying to get into a room and tell a lot of people about what's going on in your neighborhood. Now, remember, the context over here obviously also is that the United Nations has had a troubled history as far as India-Pak relations is concerned. There is the UN mission on India and Pakistan. I'm standing not very far from it, in fact, and the mandate of that has been quite differently seen by India and Pakistan. India, of course, doesn't see any role for the UN as far as India-Pakistan is concerned on the back of the Shimla Agreement. But now with the Shimla Agreement being scrapped, unilaterally by Pakistan, which basically defined the rules of engagement across the ceasefire line and the line of control, it's anyone's guess what the next step will be. But basically, the United Nations Security Council telling Pakistan, stop bringing your troubles to us. You need to sort them out and start behaving first.
Shiv, as always, thank you so much for joining us with the lowdown. It's also noteworthy that after a long press statement by Pakistan's envoy to UN, Asim Iftikhar Ahmed, after the closed-door UNSC meeting on India-Pakistan issue, no other UNSC member country envoy joined this press statement, which was largely about blaming India. But as Shiv Arur is reporting, at the closed-door meeting, UN Secretary Council members rejected Pakistan's false flag narrative, condemned the Pahalgam terror attack, and criticized religious targeting and Pakistan's escalatory missile tests as well as nuclear rhetoric. In fact, Pakistan has been asked to resolve issues with India bilaterally.
After Centre asked several states to conduct a security mock drills for effective civil defence in the event of a hostile attack amid tensions between India and Pakistan following the Pahalgam terror attack, Home Secretary has now called for a key meet. Let's go back to Shiv. Shiv, as you've been pointing out before, civil defence mock drill will happen. This is, of course, a large-scale preparedness exercise. Could you tell us what it will entail? Home Secretary has also called a meet regarding this.
That is correct. I in fact have the details of what these civil defense drills will really involve, and I'll just read them out for our viewers. They're going to happen tomorrow. They're very important. They haven't happened at this scale since the 1971 war. They've happened in a limited way in 2002 during Operation Parakram, which was the war-like situation on the line of control and border between India and Pakistan after the 2001 Parliament terror attacks by Pakistani terrorists. Important to note that these civil defense drills, there's going to be a high-level meeting later today headed by the Home Secretary, where he's going to be speaking to all the state authorities as to what they are. For the benefit of our viewers, I just wanted to read out the note that I've received from my source. This is obviously for public consumption, not classified in any manner. This is what they're going to involve across 244 districts in every state and union territory. So obviously not in every place in the country, but this is basically designed to cover all states and union territories to reduce chaos, avoid panic, and increase efficiency in the case of an outbreak, of open hostilities that could target our cities. Air raid warning sirens, testing sirens in public address systems, educating citizens on what to do when sirens go off and where to go, crash blackout measures, simulated power blackouts to avoid detection from aerial threats, ensuring visibility shutdowns in sensitive zones at night, camouflaging vital installations, practice making strategic assets like refineries, rail yards, airfields, using nets, paints, or natural cover, evacuation drills, rehearsals for moving civilians from vulnerable areas, coordinating with local authorities for safe zones and shelters, training civilians and students, basic first aid, emergency and communication, firefighting and shelter techniques, sessions in schools, colleges and residential areas, mock emergency scenarios, role-play based drills for chemical leaks, bomb threats or missile attacks, integration with National Disaster Response Force, Fire Brigade and police, shelter readiness, very important, checking availability and condition of community shelters and bunkers, especially in border states, and coordination with the armed forces, which is joint exercises involving military and civil authorities to simulate wartime readiness. So these are the 7 things that a contact of mine has shared with me to give in some detail an answer to the question that hundreds and thousands of people, perhaps millions, are looking for right now. So we're putting those out here on NDTV. Those civil defense drills, 244 districts across all states and union territories tomorrow.
And in some more breaking news coming in, viewers, it's been 2 weeks since the horrific April 22 Pahalgam attack. While the terrorists are still at large, India is leaving no stones unturned in giving a befitting reply to Pakistan. Another ceasefire violation by Pakistan. Pakistan Army yet again resorted to unprovoked small arms firing from posts across the line of control in areas opposite to Kupwara, Baramulla and JNK. We are learning that this is yet another violation by the Pakistan. This comes in the backdrop of April 22 deadly attack which happened in Pahalgam. I'm being joined by my colleague Shiv Arur, who has been closely monitoring all the developments since the attack. Shiv, another ceasefire violation by Pakistan?
Good morning. That's correct. This is the 12th straight night of ceasefire violations, and the pattern is obviously setting in. The last 3 nights of these ceasefire violations on the line of control by Pakistan, every single one of them unprovoked, happens to have happened at the exact 8 sectors of the line of control, like you just said. There are 2 sectors in the Kashmir area, which is Baramulla and Kupwara, both sectors from where we've been reporting from consistently here in the last week. Apart from that, the other 6 sectors are concentrated in the Jammu area sectors of the line of control, namely Naushera, Poonch, Mendhar, Rajouri, Akhnur, Sundarbani, etc. So this basically means that virtually the entire line of control in the Jammu and Kashmir areas are completely lit up for the 12th day straight. There is only a very small part of the line of control where firing is not happening overnight, and that is basically the Kargil, Ladakh sectors. But apart from that, nearly a 600-kilometer frontage of this working frontier called the line of control is seeing Pakistan consistently escalate with these ceasefire violations. Like you rightly said, they are still, for the 12th day running, restricted to small arms fire, basically machine guns. But for the last 5 to 6 days, Pakistan, which has obviously been spooked by the ambiguity over what India's next move will be, has moved more and more heavy weapons to the line of control, displaying a possible intent of escalation and moving to heavier weapons next. That hasn't happened so far, but there's every possibility that any coming night that could happen. But for now, it continues to be the 12th night, and for 3 nights running, Pakistan is using those ceasefire violations in the exact same sector.
After the Pahalgam attack, security has been beefed up across the country. Along the India-Bangladesh border, security has been tightened many folds. Now there are several railway stations and railway tracks along the border with Bangladesh which are close to the border and are vulnerable. And therefore, these railway stations along the Bangladesh border, particularly in the states of Tripura, Assam and parts of West Bengal, are being monitored very closely.
देश के सिक्योरिटी सिचुएशन को देखते हुए एक इंटेंसिफाइड कैंपेन चलाया जा रहा है। सारे ऐसे इलाके जो कि बांग्लादेश बॉर्डर के पास हो, वहाँ के जो रेल के ट्रैक्स है और साथ में ही स्टेशंस है, वहाँ पे कड़ी निगरानी करने की व्यवस्था की गई है। तो इसमें कुछ नए पहलू अभी शुरू किए गए हैं, जिसमें एक अहम पहलू है कि हम ट्रैक्स में ट्रॉली पेट्रोलिंग कर रहे हैं, जिसमें कि जॉइंट आरपीएफ, बीएसएफ और जीआरपी के अथॉरिटीज साथ में इंजीनियरिंग के स्टाफ, हमारे रेलवे के स्टाफ के साथ एक पेट्रोलिंग कर रहे हैं।
The Northeast Frontier Railway has now taken help of the Border Security Force in its vigil on the railway tracks and vulnerable railway stations. The GRP, the RPF and with the help of BSF, the patrolling along the tracks of Indian Railway along the borders has been increased. Now this has been done in the view that there is heightened security alert. Also, given the fact that from the Pahalgam attack, it is very clear that the terrorists are targeting innocent civilians, and railways carry hundreds of passengers linking remote areas of Northeast to different state capitals and beyond across to metro cities. This railway link of Northeast Frontier Railway through the states of Tripura, Assam and West Bengal for long have been used for illegal immigration of Bangladeshis to other parts of the country, and therefore this route is under highest alert in terms of the security apparatus, and a close monitoring is being done, and therefore now not only there are joint patrols being carried out by BSF, the RPF and the GRP, but there is on-ground intelligence sharing as well. In the last financial year, close to 300 illegal immigrants from Bangladesh who have entered India illegally were arrested either in trains in Northeast India or in railway stations in these 3 states of Tripura, Assam and parts of West Bengal, and therefore Northeast Frontier Railway has now taken help of the Border Security Force so as to increase its vigil, while the manhunt and scrutiny for illegal immigrants continues, the focus also would remain on people that may create troubles for India, become a threat to the national security of India, and therefore this measure has been taken where the state police of each of the states have also been roped in, and they are also sharing on ground intelligence apart from taking part in this exercise where you have the railway police, the RPF, the GRP and the border security force very actively involved.
The Ministry of Home Affairs, this is very, very important in context. Put these things in context with whatever is happening in the country in a state of heightened alertness. The Ministry of Home Affairs has asked several states to conduct mock drills in, for items from effective civil defense on 7th May. So 7th May, large-scale mock drills across the country. Be prepared for that, ladies and gentlemen. Following measures have been asked to be undertaken. Optimization of the air raid warning systems, training for civilian students, etc. To protect themselves in event of hostile attacks. Provisions of blackout measures, provisions for early camouflaging of vital plants and installations, etc. All this will be conducted during this advisory which has come in from the Ministry of Home Affairs asking states to conduct mock drills. Now put this in context with the tensions that both these countries, India and Pakistan, stand at this moment, with not just Pakistan but the world awaiting India's response. Vasudha Venugopal, my colleague, joins us at this moment. Vasudha, mock drills are part of preparedness for any country, but given the context of the tensions between India and Pakistan post Pahalgam, this has renewed significance.
Tensions have been soaring between India and Pakistan, and like we know, India has already unleashed its diplomatic offensive against Pakistan. Also, a lot of moves, attacks on Pakistan on the economic front. Now, when it comes to the military front, there have been a lot of security preparedness review which have been happening in the PMO. The Prime Minister himself has met chiefs of armed forces, and of course, there have also been meetings that have been taking place in MHA. Govind Mohan, the Secretary, the Home Secretary, and also Amit Shah himself have been taking a lot of meetings, and in that regard, what we understand is that the Home Ministry has asked all states, in fact several states, to conduct mock drills, and this will be from the 7th of May, and this would also to operationalize air raid warning signs. There will also be training of civilians and students on various aspects of civil defense, and this is to protect themselves in the case of a hostile attack. What we also understand is that there will be provision of crash blackout measures. This is what happens when you are, under attack by a hostile enemy, by an enemy nation. And this is to prepare the country for something like this. States have been asked to conduct mock drills on this to prepare their residents, to prepare their force, to ensure that there is minimum damage. Meanwhile, there's also MHA has also asked states to ensure provision for early camouflaging of vital plants and installations, and also there will be updation of evacuation plans and also rehearsals. So this is what sources have told us, that MHA has asked states to ensure there are mock drills conducted in several states to ensure that the country seems prepared in terms of the speculations of hostile attack.
The Pakistan military said today it's conducted a missile test with a range of 120 kilometers. This is the second launch in 2 days as tensions with India have soared after the Pahalgam attack. Now, on Saturday, the military had said it tested a surface-to-surface missile with a range of 450 kilometers. It did not say where the test took place. So now, claiming a second missile test, this missile training launch comes after the Prime Minister had said he's given the Indian military full operational freedom to respond to the April 22nd attack in Pahalgam. So Pakistan there really flexing with this show of missile strength and the second missile test in 2 days.
2 weeks after the Pahalgam attack, we've seen a series of different escalations and provocations by Pakistan. A nuclear missile test that took place a couple of days ago, and today this surface-to-surface missile test of what they're describing as the Fatah surface-to-surface missile with a range, like you rightly said, of about 120 kilometers. Now, all of this is part of what the Pakistan military is calling Exercise Indus. It's a testing and validation exercise for some of their long-range weapons, like the Abdali that was tested a couple of days ago and the Fatah that was tested today. Now remember, there have been reports to suggest that these weapons tests were supposed to happen later, but they've been advanced in order to align with Pakistan's requirement right now to, project power, give out the sense that, it is completely ready for any kind of outside attack from India. In fact, the ISI press release that has come out on this missile test says, quite blankly and quite boldly that this is a message to anyone looking to disrupt Pakistan's territorial integrity. So there's absolutely no disguise as to what these missile tests are really about. They are about, trying to send out that message that Pakistan is well armed and can handle any outside attack of the kind that India has, imposed on Pakistan in the past as well. Except that this time there is absolutely no clarity as to what that attack is going to be, what shape it's going to take, and when it's going to happen.
Pakistani hackers are now targeting Indian defense websites. According to sources in the defense establishment, the cyber attacks may have compromised sensitive information about defense personnel, including their login credentials. Now, on a social media platform X, a handle called Pakistan Cyber Force claimed that hackers gained access to sensitive data of the Military Engineer Services and the Manohar Parrikar Institute of Defense Studies and Analysis. Earlier, we spoke to Vishnu for more details.
This is, to my mind, the most serious instance of hacking that has taken place by Pakistani hackers, because these are organizations directly affiliated with the Indian Armed Forces and the Defense Ministry. In the past, there have been autonomous institutes, for example, educational institutes, which have been hacked and defaced. But on this particular occasion, the Indian Military Engineering Service, which is part of the Corps of Engineers of the Indian Army, and the Armored Vehicle Nigam Limited, which is a defense public sector unit, they have been targeted, in addition to the Manohar Parrikar Institute of Defense Studies, which was previously known as IDSA. So that's now called the Manohar Parrikar Institute of Defense Studies and Analysis. In terms of data which has been breached at this stage, what we are told is that they've gained access to sensitive data, which includes the name of personnel, which includes login credentials as well. As a result of this, the website of the Armored Vehicle Nigam Limited has been taken offline. They're conducting a thorough inquiry into this. They're trying to figure out the extent of the leaks which have taken place. But this is a threat linked to Pakistan. In the past, on a real-time basis, those keeping an eye out for these hacking attempts on the Indian military or affiliated organizations were able to spot that these were coming in from Pakistan. On this particular occasion, it's quite clear that they have. And once again, the matter of concern this time around particularly is that some sensitive defense equipment may have been breached.
आज की जो प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस है उसका मेन मोटो है हमारे मानयोग सीएम साहब श्री भगवंत सिंह मान और हमारे डीजीपी साहब श्री गौरव यादव जी के इंस्ट्रक्शंस हैं कि हमें कोई भी ऐसे एंटी नेशनल एलिमेंट्स की कोई भी इंफॉर्मेशन मिलती है तो उनके खिलाफ फौरन कार्रवाई करते हुए उनको सलाखों के पीछे लेके जाएं। ऐसी ही एक इन्फॉर्मेशन हमें मिली जब हमने फलक शेर मसीह और सूरज मसीह, ये दोनों बल्लड़वाल गांव है अजनाला के साथ, ये बॉर्डर के साथ सटा हुआ गांव है, यहाँ के ये दोनों वासी, हमें इन्फॉर्मेशन मिली कि PIOs जो पाकिस्तान इंटेलिजेंस ऑपरेटिव्स के साथ ये दोनों टच में थे, ये उनको सेंसिटिव इंस्टॉलेशंस की इन्फॉर्मेशन शेयर कर रहे थे और हमने इन दोनों को अरेस्ट किया है और इनके फोन में से हमें काफी डेटा रिकवर हुआ है जो ये काफी सेंसिटिव इन्फॉर्मेशन लीक कर रहे थे पाकिस्तान ISI एजेंसीज को। इनका एक और भी साथी है हरप्रीत, उन्होंने ही इनको दोनों को ये बॉर्डर पार के जो ISI ऑपरेटर्स हैं उनके साथ टच में लेके आए। उसको भी हम अमृतसर जेल से प्रोडक्शन वारंट पे लेके आएंगे। उसके अगेंस्ट ऑलरेडी एक NDPS का कमर्शियल क्वांटिटी केस का एक FIR रजिस्टर्ड है और उसको भी हम लेके आके बारीकी से इन्वेस्टिगेट करेंगे। इनके अगेंस्ट FIR नंबर 92 हमने ऑफिशियल सीक्रेट्स एक्ट और इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी एक्ट के अंडर रजिस्टर करी है और हम बहुत ही बारीकी से इनसे इन्वेस्टिगेशन हम कर रहे हैं। इनिशियल इन्वेस्टिगेशन के मुताबिक इनको छोटी इन्फॉर्मेशन देने के 5,000 और अगर इनको कोई ज़्यादा सेंसिटिव इन्फॉर्मेशन है, कोई मूवमेंट की है, तो ये 10,000 तक भी इनको प्रोवाइड करते थे। जो ये सारी चीज़ें हैं जो उसी गांव के आसपास हमें RDX, ग्रेनेड्स और हेरोइन की रिकवरीज हुई थी, पिस्टल्स की रिकवरीज हुई थी, हम इनसे बहुत ही बारीकी से इन्वेस्टिगेशन करके, इनसे पूछताछ करके, इनके और भी साथी हैं, ये सारी इन्फॉर्मेशन हम इसकी सोर्सेज डिस्क्लोज करेंगे आपको जैसे ही हमें कुछ भी आगे पता चलता है। ये जो PIOs के साथ टच में आए, ये टच में ऐसे ही आए कि पहले ये जो बॉर्डर पार से हेरोइन आती थी, इसको ये कंसाइनमेंट्स को पिक करके आगे डिलीवर करते थे और अभी कुछ ही दिनों में पहले इनसे ये ऐसी इन्फॉर्मेशन मांगनी शुरू की थी और जब हमारे पास इन्फॉर्मेशन आई, पंजाब पुलिस ने, अमृतसर रूरल पुलिस ने इमीडिएटली एक्ट करते हुए इनको अरेस्ट किया है। जी बिल्कुल, जैसे मैंने बताया कि ये जो थे ये सेंसिटिव आर्मी इंस्टॉलेशंस और उनकी जो मूवमेंट्स थे, उनकी इन्फॉर्मेशन सारी ये डिस्क्लोज कर रहे थे, लीक कर रहे थे टू दी PIOs और ये जो हमारे एनिमी का डिजाइन है उसको सक्षम और उसके लिए सक्सेसफुल बनाने के लिए काम कर रहे थे, बट वी हैव एप्रीहेंडेड देम एंड वी आर एक्टिंग टफ अगेंस्ट देम। जी बिल्कुल, जितनी भी मिलिट्री और यहाँ पे जितने भी एयरफोर्स स्टेशंस की जो सेंसिटिव इन्फॉर्मेशन थी, ये उनको डिस्क्लोज कर रहे हैं।
India has now restricted the flow of the Baglihar and Salal, in fact restricted water through the Baglihar and Salal dams. This is on the Chenab River, and India is also planning similar measures at the Kishan Ganga Dam on the Jhelum River is what sources have said. Let's go across to Nazir now for more on this. And Nazir, this is the latest in a series of actions that India has been taking against Pakistan ever since the Pahalgam attack. Give us more details of this latest action.
Well, it was a temporary measure and water has been released now. But this is a huge warning to Pakistan what it means when India will stop water, though it is going to take a long time. Let me explain to our viewers what it means, why India can stop water or it may not be able to stop water, and what it means to Pakistan. Pakistan gets its entire water, river system from Kashmir. It is whether it is Chenab, Indus or Jhelum. I am on the banks of Jhelum here. So from Chenab River, in these times, they get around in the yearly 27 million acres of water Pakistan. We have this Baglihar Dam, we have Salal Dam, and some other, these are run-of-the-river projects are also coming up. But we have a storage limitation. For example, Baglihar project, which is generating its phase 1 and phase 2, is generating 900 megawatts of electricity. But it can store only 3 lakh million acres, 3 lakh acres, acre feet of water. Whereas Pakistan receives around 27 million acre of water from this Chenab River alone. So if you want to stop the water and decrease the flow of the water, you have to raise the height of the dam. But it has its own cost because many areas will be submerged, there would be ecological costs as well. So it needs a lot of thinking and the research and the work of years together. And then you have, for example, Kishan Ganga River, which has come up in this project in Gurez, which has also stopped water, can stop water, but which means you have to raise the level of the dam, that barrage.
So Nazir, these are just temporary measures. Nazir, as you're describing it, these are just some temporary measures one can take. As you said, it's run of the river projects, which means there's no capacity to really store up that water. So we can't really stop that water for a very long period of time.
Exactly. For example, for yesterday, this water was stopped at Baglihar project. Dam was filled, as I said earlier, what is its capacity? 3 lakh acre feet. Then it has been released today. At around 10, water has been properly released. But what is the challenge for Pakistan? Normally, under Indus Water Treaty, the there was a real-time information to Pakistan. We are stopping, we are releasing. If there are more rains, they are being informed so that they will prepare themselves accordingly. But after India suspended Indus Water Treaty, so India is not obliged to inform Pakistan. For example, last week India released water when there were heavy rains in Ramban, there were cloudbursts. Pakistan was taken by surprise that, and for example, yesterday water was stopped temporarily and no intimation was given to them. So that is their worry, that water could be much serious challenge to them than even war or the weapons. So water is much serious, threat to Pakistan than jets and the guns, because they are fearing that it could be a strategic weapon. During less water, it can be they can suffer drought, and even during the rains they can be flooded as well. So that is the thing, but permanently stopping water in this river system is not possible. Let me show you, for example, Jhelum River here.
Right.
Jhelum River has a very low gradient, which means it doesn't have much slope. From Srinagar to Vellore Barrage, if you see, it is like more than 55 kilometers. But there's only a gradient of 20 feet, which means if you just raise the level of barrage of 3-meter barrage at Vellore Barrage, Srinagar then push back and it may face the floods, and many low-lying areas may be submerged. So it's not an easy thing to do. But what India has done, that by suspending Indus Water Treaty, it's a huge threat to Pakistan. They are saying if they try to divert, it will be an act of war and we will react. So the water is first before India fires first blood. The water is becoming a big threat to Pakistan, big challenge. The water wars here is actually escalating as India temporarily stopped water at Bagaliar, which has now been released, because we can't store more water than over 300 lakh, 3 lakh acre feet at the Bagaliar Dam.
That's right, Nazir. And Nazir, as we await whatever action the government does decide, of course, we have to tell our viewers that a series of actions have been taken as far as Pakistan is concerned. We've spoke about the water issue, trade as well as, reaching out to the international community. But if we talk about this firing that we've seen consistently for the last 11 days, as we told our viewers, this is small arms fire. And that is, something that we've seen throughout so far. It's been contained at small arm fire. If you could explain that to us.
Well, the fact is that it is still small arms firing, and fortunately in last 11 days there's no report of any damage. So which means that both sides are exercising caution. In fact, the army is saying it is Pakistan's unprovoked firing. Having said that, but the both sides has not escalated it, though it is the escalating spiral when we see it has spread from one area to other area. In between, even international border in Jammu was also affected. But the way we have seen even before this Pahalgam massacre, there were some ceasefire violations, but both the sides would resolve it through flag meeting and normal the contact which is between India and Pakistan army. In between, both the DGMOs also after talked, and India warned Pakistan that if it is going to continue with this, there would be the consequences. But it is something what we see in the line of control, what people were expecting, that India is going to react now after Pahalgam massacre, and there would be military action. Before that, we see Pakistan repeatedly resorting to firing along the line of control, which has made people vulnerable. Perhaps they are trying to send a message, we are ready for any escalation, but we all know that they have been also talking about that, there should be probe of, Pahalgam massacre, we are not involved, that there be international probe. They are also going to the United Nations asking for de-escalation and all that. The fact is that they are shattered, particularly not just what is happening on the border and they may fear the India's military action against Pakistan, but also what the India has already taken the punitive actions against Pakistan, diplomatic as well as economic action, including Indus Water Treaty, suspending Indus Water Treaty, stopping all types of, imports from Pakistan, anything which is even in the transit through Pakistan, to ensure that Pakistan doesn't get even those transit charges from other countries like Afghanistan.
ये हमारी शादी 24 मई 2024 को हुई थी वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंस के जरिए। ये मेरी कज़न है, मेरे मामू की बेटी हैं। ये वहाँ पाकिस्तान में सियालकोट में रहते हैं, और पार्टीशन से पहले ये यहाँ मेरा अभी घर है, यहाँ पे ये दोनों फैमिलियाँ ज्वाइंट रहती थी। विभाजन के दौरान दोनों फैमिलियाँ बट गईं, तो ये पाकिस्तान चले गए। तो उसके बाद हमारे परिवार के बड़ों ने रिश्ता तय कर दिया हमारा बचपन में ही कि हम आपस में रिश्तेदारी करेंगे। तो फिर जब अभी शादी की हमने 2024 में, उससे पहले मैं आपको बता दूं कि मैं सीआरपीएफ में कार्यरत हूं। तो मैंने अपने विभाग को शादी की अनुमति के लिए सूचना देने के लिए मैंने 31/12/2022 को मैंने एक लेटर लिखा था, और उस लेटर के ऊपर कुछ आपत्तियां लगा के इन्होंने रिटर्न कर दिया। 24 जनवरी रिस्पेक्ट है, तो उसमें मैरिज का कार्ड, शादी कहाँ पे होगी और ये सब चीज़ें उसमें लिखी गई। मैंने उन सब आपत्तियों का निवारण करके शादी का कार्ड लगा के मैंने डिपार्टमेंट को दी। 72 बटालियन सीआरपीएफ सुंदरबनी में कमांडेंट साहब से मैं मिला भी। फिर वो मेरा लेटर जो है थ्रू प्रॉपर चैनल डीआईजी रेंज, उसके बाद जम्मू सेक्टर आईजी सीआरपीएफ, फिर एसडीजी जेके जोन से होता हुआ वो डायरेक्टेड सीआरपीएफ दिल्ली तक गया। वहाँ कुछ समय लगा, 2-4 महीने 5 महीने का समय वहाँ पे लगा। फिर उसके बाद में वहाँ से एक रिप्लाई आता है, जवाब आता है कि उसके संबंध में उन्होंने लिखा है, मतलब क्लियर लिख के दिया है कि रूल के हिसाब से जो है एक सरकारी कर्मचारी को सरकार को सूचित करना होता है, डिपार्टमेंट को सूचित करना होता है। तो मेरे बारे में साफ उसमें लिखा है कि प्रार्थी ने डिपार्टमेंट को सूचित कर दिया है।
Well, we have breaking news coming in from Jammu and Kashmir at the moment, from Poonch specifically, where the army has busted a terror hideout in Jammu and Kashmir's Poonch. I can inform our viewers at the moment that explosive devices, certain wireless sets have been recovered as the army busted this terror hideout in Jammu and Kashmir's Poonch. In fact, 5 explosive devices have been recovered. Nazir Masoodi has been tracking all the latest breaking news information for us. He joins us over the phone line at the moment. Nazir, what are the latest details you can disclose to our viewers?
Well, as part of an ongoing operation in Surankot area of Poonch, security forces have busted an underground militant hideout, and they have found 5 explosive devices, 2 wireless sets and other logistical items inside this hideout. But so far, no militant has been tracked down, if at all anybody was there. But it appears no one was hiding in that hideout when it was busted. But this recovery itself explains that the spread of militancy in Jammu and Kashmir. Remember, this Surankot Poonch area was the first area where militants started attacks in October 2021. Since then, we have seen multiple attacks and encounters in Jammu region, which all started from Poonch, Rajouri, then spread to Kutwa, Samba, and Doda, Kishtwar as well. As we are talking all about, Pahalgam terror attack, but remember, big challenge of militancy is coming from Jammu, where we have seen series of attacks and encounters, and army has suffered so many casualties. Now, army in an offensive mode and the security forces police in this joint operation, they have busted this hideout and recovered 5 explosive devices, wireless sets and other items from this hideout.
साथियों, एक रक्षा मंत्री के रूप में मेरा दायित्व है कि मैं अपने सैनिकों के साथ मिलकर देश की सीमाओं की सुरक्षा सुनिश्चित करूं, और मेरा यह दायित्व है कि अपनी सेना के साथ मिलकर देश के ऊपर आंख उठाने वालों को मुंहतोड़ जवाब दूं। आप सभी हमारे प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी को अच्छी तरह जानते हैं। जोखिम उठाने का भाव किस तरीके से उन्होंने सीखा है अपने जिंदगी में। मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में जैसा आप चाहते हैं वैसा हो कर रहे हैं। साथियों, एक रक्षा मंत्री के रूप में भी मैं कुछ बातें आपसे साझा करना चाहूंगा। किसी भी राष्ट्र का अपना एक भौतिक स्वरूप होता है। भौतिक स्वरूप के अंतर्गत किसी राष्ट्र की भूमि होती है, उसकी सीमाएं होती हैं, उसमें रहने वाले लोग आते हैं। तो वहीं दूसरी तरफ राष्ट्र का एक अपना आत्मिक स्वरूप भी होता है, जिसके अंतर्गत राष्ट्र की संस्कृति, उसके विचार और उसके मूल्य आते हैं। एक राष्ट्र के रूप में भारत के भौतिक स्वरूप की सुरक्षा हमारे वीर सैनिकों ने हमेशा की है। तो वहीं पर दूसरी तरफ भारत के आध्यात्मिक स्वरूप की रक्षा हमारे ऋषियों और मनीषियों ने की है। जहां एक तरफ हमारे सैनिक रणभूमि में लड़ते हैं, तो वहीं दूसरी तरफ हमारे संत जीवन भूमि में लड़ते हैं। साथियों, एक रक्षा मंत्री के रूप में मेरा दायित्व है कि मैं अपने सैनिकों के साथ मिलकर देश की सीमाओं की सुरक्षा सुनिश्चित करूं, और मेरा यह दायित्व है कि अपनी सेना के साथ मिलकर देश के ऊपर आंख उठाने वालों को मुंहतोड़ जवाब दूं। और आप सभी हमारे प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी को अच्छी तरह जानते हैं। उनकी कार्यशैली से भी अच्छी तरह परिचित हैं, उनकी दृढ़ता से भी अच्छी तरह परिचित हैं। जोखिम उठाने का भाव किस तरीके से उन्होंने सीखा है अपने जिंदगी में, मंत्री मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में जैसा आप चाहते हैं वैसा होकर रहे हैं।
A ceasefire violation by Pakistan. There are reports of firing at 8 sectors across the LOC. The ceasefire violation focused on Jammu. We have these details thanks to my colleague Shiv Arur, who's been tracking all the finer developments. In fact, this marks the 11th ceasefire violation by Pakistan. Shiv is with us over the phone line at the moment with a quick update. Shiv, what are the latest details you can disclose to our viewers?
Good morning. This is the 11th straight night of ceasefire violations since they began 2 days after the Pahalgam terror attack. Interestingly, the interesting thing to note about last night is the very same 8 sectors that saw these unprovoked ceasefire violations from the Pakistan Army side the previous night, that is the 10th night, reflect the same way. So instead of the usual shuffling of sectors that we've seen for 10 days, the last 2 days have seen exactly the same sectors where these violations have taken place. 2 sectors in the Kashmir sectors of the LOC, which is Baramulla and Kupwara, and the remaining 6 sectors south of the Pir Panjal Mountains in the Jammu areas of the LC, namely Poonch, Mendhar, Sundarbani, Naushera and Akhnur. Therefore, the obvious question that comes up is, what's happening in the Jammu sectors that's got the Pakistan Army posts there especially excited? Because if you look at the pattern of these escalations since the first day, it began only north of the Pir Panjal Mountains. There was a great deal of escalation over there. It slowly shifted south of the mountains into the Jammu region, and now the concentration of those ceasefire violations is in the Jammu region. We don't want to speculate as to why, but this could be part of the larger nerves within Pakistan as to where they believe the next attack might actually be coming from. All of these are rhythms and patterns and loops that the Indian Army, the Indian military is of course looking at very, very closely, considering that the Pakistan Army has muscle flexed in every direction, trying to give out the impression of preparedness and readiness for any kind of Indian attack. But remember that these escalations on the line of control by the Pakistan Army are not just about psychological projection of readiness, but also the continuing attempt to infiltrate terrorists into the Indian side. That is continuing. Poonch, Mendhar are considered successful highways of infiltration, as are Kupwara and Uri, and that's also one of the parallel reasons why these ceasefire violations are continuing, and clearly they don't seem to show any signs of stopping.
Ladies and gentlemen, it won't come to you as a surprise because not once, not twice, but we have forgotten the number of times Pakistan and Pakistan's propaganda, false news has been exposed not just by India but across the globe. And that's why Pakistan's call for neutral investigation into the Pahalgam terror attack completely stands exposed. It is a farce, and that has to be called out. Now, there have been some historical patterns, and why we are talking about this, because remember, just in the response to what happened in Pahalgam, first Pakistan said that India is jumping the gun by accusing it. Number two, then Pakistan called for a neutral investigation, a very tried and tested formula that Pakistan has used ever since it started, sheltering, aiding, abetting, training, terrorists who indulge in anti-India activities. And then there was this false, farce, complete farcical ISPR press conference in the middle of the night to try and show the world that, it's a tit-for-tat game which India is playing with Pakistan. But let me put some facts out for you. Historical pattern of state-sponsored terrorism by Pakistan. This is not new. From 1947, Pakistan has actively used terrorism and irregular warfare as its major tool of state policy against India. Bleeding by 1,000 cuts is what Pakistan has always been hoping and trying to do against India. This all started with the invasion of Jammu and Kashmir by Pakistani-backed tribal militias. In 1965, remember, Pakistan repeated the tactic, sending soldiers disguised as locals into Kashmir under Operation Gibraltar. It failed, and to spark any uprising, resulting in a war that Pakistan could not win. And then, of course, the wounds of 1971, where Pakistan was torn into two after its atrocities, the Pakistani army atrocities in Bangladesh. In 1999, once again, Pakistan betrayed the country with the Kargil war. Pakistani regulars and terrorists infiltrated, tried to occupy high positions in India, and Pakistan initially completely denied its involvement until irrefutable evidence had emerged. And once again, the same is being, in fact, done by Pakistan. We've been speaking about how that, ISPR press conference was a complete farce. Should once again, and this is not the first time, it's been one after another, many times that we have exposed the lies of Pakistan. Is the time for discussion or even giving that elbow room to Pakistan over? I'm being joined at this moment by Major General Sanjay Messin, former Indian Army and strategic analyst. He served in Jammu and Kashmir on the Pakistan and China border. We also have Major General Yash Moore, defense analyst, who is with us at this moment. Major General Sudhakar G, VSM, retired strategy and security expert, former Indian Army General, also with us on the broadcast. But let me start with you, Major General Messin. This whole propaganda and how Pakistan utilizes. I mean, one thing we have to give Pakistanis, if there is one, possibly the only area where Indian establishment is one step behind them, is the falsehood and the propaganda that Pakistan creates, the smoke screen that they always try to create. And can, after being exposed multiple times on how Pakistan behaves in and indulges in anti-India activity, does this call for a neutral investigation where Pakistan is also involved, and some neutral agency or some other country is also involved? Should India even consider that as serious?
Ankit, no way. We should not even consider it. And you have given a very good historical background. In fact, in 71, they resorted to terrorism against their own people in East Pakistan, the then Bengalis over there. And they have been doing this in India since, 1947. And not only that, they have been doing it very successfully in Balochistan. Balochistan was the only state which was granted autonomy, and for 227 days, Balochistan had their independence. And again, Pakistan Major General Akbar Khan, he led an invasion there and forced them to sign it. Again, an act of terrorism. In Kashmir, that same Major General did in October 47. So what I'm trying to highlight is terrorism is their DNA, and they will continue to do so, and they are the epicenter of terrorism in the entire world. 9/11 was conceived and planned in Pakistan. Majority of the terrorists were from Pakistan. And where was bin Laden hiding? Again, they want a proof. And I think now we should learn the American way. They know where bin Laden was hiding, and they sorted him out. They destroyed him, and you know the operation. I think now for high time, India need not get any proof, too much of proof and too much of decency by our country. Now we have to go on a full throttle and strangulate this country the way we have been doing it very successfully on the diplomatic front, economic front, political front, and also of course the holding on the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance. I think these have sent major signals, and today entire world is with us, maybe except Turkey and China. They will only make symbolic statement. So Pakistan, now we are resorting to strategic strangulation.
Right.
And thereafter, I think we have to do the military part of it, which is the most important. That is up to us when we do it.
Right.
We need to strangulate them, and you know this state-sponsored terrorism from Pakistan shall not and cannot be accepted by India.
Absolutely. I mean, business can't be as usual as far as Pakistan is concerned. This whole, Major General Moore, let me ask you this terror military complex that Pakistan very successfully has, harbored, made, for their sinister plans against India. At this moment, there is also an attempt by Pakistan, ISI and the ISPR to try and show that, well, this is a tactic that both these countries employ. India is also fanning terrorism in Balochistan according to them. Hence, what we do in Kashmir is fair and square.